The COYGIG Pod on OTB Sports in association with Cadbury. A player and a half deserves a glass and a half of support.
Everyone ran their socks off tonight and they left everything out there. We're very proud of the team's performance.
Let the shackles off Katie a bit so that she can go and play her game.
We're going to go out there to beat them. We're going to try and beat them.
Hello there, I'm Kathleen McNamee and Karen Duggan is along with me for episode 31 of the COYGIG Pod on OTB Sports. We're normally up bright and early doing these recordings of a Tuesday, but it is in fact the evening, as we'll say that we had some technical difficulties due to the heat that there is at the moment. Anyone who is watching this on YouTube will be able to see the sweat dripping down my face at the moment because it is about 39 degrees.
I feel smug because I'm 9 degrees down from that, but look.
We're here, we're alive, and we still have some football.
And you're getting to see some live action football as well over there, so. No.
That is true. Although I was actually supposed to go to the game last night and I couldn't because every single train was cancelled out of London. It was so warm that you just couldn't go anywhere.
I actually didn't realise that, so that would have had an effect on the attendances around the place.
Yeah, and fans. I don't know if it was as bad up north. The match was in Manchester and I think the other one was Rotherham maybe. So if you're already up that way, it might not have been that bad, but I just know down in London it was pretty bad and no one was going anywhere. Most of the tubes weren't running either.
Do you think it's affected the games in any way?
I think it has sometimes with certain teams. You can see they had the cooling breaks last night and you could tell the teams needed them. They were wrapping ice towels around themselves during them and stuff. And I thought some of the teams looked a bit lethargic, and it wasn't just the fact that it was coming to the end of the group stage, it was also that it was so warm.
Yeah, I know, it can be a momentum killer as well, because I think Italy were a little bit on the up and then the water break hit and it maybe affected their momentum a bit.
Yeah, it kind of took them out of their steam a little bit. Yeah. But I think even the fact that if most of these teams probably play in similar enough heat at different times, not the Icelands of the world maybe, but the Italys and stuff should be able to cope with it a bit better than I currently am anyways.
Do you not get weather like this in Sligo, no?
No, shockingly not. I don't think it ever goes above about 12 degrees in Sligo if we're lucky, especially by the seaside. But with the group stages over, it means that we have our quarterfinals in place, which is very exciting. We have England versus Spain, Germany versus Austria, Sweden versus Belgium, and then France versus Netherlands. Some teams in there that people didn't expect to see, but I suppose the best place to start is probably England, Spain, as it is the one that's happening tomorrow.
Yeah, two teams we definitely did expect to see, but maybe we thought that they'd both be the top seeds going into this, but England have kind of taken over that favourites tag throughout the group stages, and rightly so. I mean, they've been pretty much flawless now. I don't think they've been challenged too much. So it'll be interesting to see how they react to that, because they've dominated so much possession over those 3 games and scored so many goals. It'll be interesting to see how they react when they have to do a bit of defending, because they just have not been tested yet.
And do you think they are going to get that test with Spain? Because I suppose the style of football they play, the quick passing, the one-touch football, that will prove problematic when it comes to defending. But in terms of actually shots and shots on goal, it hasn't been a strong point of their campaign so far.
No, it hasn't been. So it's really just about how they manage the game. If the thing with England as well is that their bench is so strong. So if Spain are spending a lot of time passing the ball around and burning a lot of energy from the England team, they have players who can come off the bench and still make an impact, and they do just have more firepower. You're looking at Russo coming on, she could have easily had 4 goals. She got 2 in the space of a few minutes. The second goal that she got, that turn at the edge of the box, is probably one of my favourite goals of the tournament so far. So as much as Spain will have possession, that killer edge that they're lacking, I think might just be the difference, because I think that while they will dominate possession for spells, that England just seem to be more clinical and they have more options, I think.
Yeah, you say that about the options, but Wiegman has been very strong in this tournament where she's stuck with the same starting 11, and you can
she will again.
Yeah, but you can almost time at like clockwork as well when she's going to make her changes, and it tends to be the same people that come on. She changed that a little bit for the Northern Ireland game, but it gets to around 60 minutes and Chloe Kelly and Russo come on, White and Hemper, whoever it is, goes off. That's happening. Will that give Spain any help, or do you think that like the team is just too strong to?
I don't think it'll help Spain. I don't think Spain will overly think about it, because Spain's philosophy and the way they play is that possession football. They're not going to change for England, because if they try and bank up and make it into a physical game, that's not going to suit Spain either. So Spain need to play to their strengths as much as possible, which will be keeping the ball in and around midfield, trying denying those quick balls out to the wing that England have been so ruthless in. So I think that, just frustrating those wingers, trying to get them moving away from the wings, and hopefully, I think it'll be an interesting tactical battle, because England might have to just change the way they play a little bit, which we haven't seen. Again, it's been very structured, very easy for them. So I still think they have enough in the tank to win this game, but it'll be just interesting to see them challenge for once, because we haven't been able to pick out too many flaws in the England team yet. I'm trying. But, no, they've just been brilliant. They've been brilliant to watch, and probably even more exciting than I expected them to be.
Well, you probably would have said the Austria game was the first one that there wasn't anything to pick.
I think we've kind of forgotten about that. I think the Norway and Northern Ireland games kind of put that to bed as kind of maybe pre-tournament nerves, first game nerves, and also the fact that Austria have now qualified shows that they have more quality than we maybe first gave them credit for.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the reason everyone forgets about it, it's not even just the score lines, it's that they answered all the questions that they had to answer.
Were they clinical enough, and did they have goals, and would that let them down? And it certainly hasn't. So.
No, definitely not. I'm pretty sure we probably have a golden boot winner.
Do you give Spain any hope?
I think it's just the fact that they probably won't be able to get a goal is the thing that I think is going to hold them back the most.
Yeah, I do think that they will struggle with that. But I do think it'll be a much tighter game than what we've seen from England in the first two. I don't think they'll have as much freedom. While Spain are a very good footballing team, they're a very intelligent team as well. So they're going to deny the spaces out wide. They're going to make sure that the centre forward is marked from crosses and things like that. So I think they'll be more prepared than the other teams, and they just do have a little bit more quality in their first two thirds, but the final third we know, and we've spoken about the players that we're missing. We don't want to keep harping on about it, but unfortunately it is kind of sticks out like a sore thumb when you see that Spain aren't converting and aren't putting away goals like we expected them to.
And we could be enjoying Hermoso and Patelas, which would have been the main thing that would have been the most enjoyable. So the second quarterfinal is Germany and Austria, so the winners of Spain's group and the runners up of England's. Germany have been very strong. I watched them at the weekend, and they're just so commanding on the ball. They know exactly what they want to do with it. Slight thing maybe with their goals that they could be scoring a bit more for the shots or the possession that they have, but I can't see them tripping up with Austria.
No, neither can I. They're too good defensively. Everything they do has so much purpose. They've come out and really impressed in this tournament. I think they've had a really good run and they've really enjoyed themselves, and it's been great to see their kind of press conference antics and the scenes after they beat Norway. I mean, it was wonderful to see. It was, again, one of the highlights, just the underdog coming out, and the less said about Norway's contribution to this tournament, the better. But it's great to see a team like Austria break through, and they'll have their work cut out against them against Germany. I think Zinsberger will be quite busy. But again, if they can frustrate Germany for large parts of the game, I think that's important. I don't think we'll see Austria come out and play too expansively. I think we'll see a similar setup to what they did against England, where they did press early on and they tried to put them on the back foot, but then they did get deep and start to deny some space. So they'll know that the Germans are very strong and very powerful. They'll try and slow the game down and just kind of cause as much frustration as possible. But I've been so impressed with the Germans.
Is there anyone in particular on the German team that has stuck out to you as someone who's having a great tournament?
Do you know what? I think that they're a real team. I find it hard to kind of pick one person. Also, I'll be honest, I'm not as familiar with a lot of these players as I am with some of the English players, and it's kind of been a treat to see these players. I'm like, oh, where's she playing? And to be fair, the German league has always been very, very strong, but it seems to be, it maybe was in the shadow of the WSL for a while, but now you're seeing Bayern Munich offering big contracts and people start to leave the WSL and maybe go back to Germany. So it shows that there's massive strength there that we probably don't know about. And maybe because of recent results, we overlook Germany a little bit, but safe to say they've been back with a bang in this tournament.
Yeah, it's been nice seeing, because like there were so many of the German players.
It's good to see Pop back. Nostalgia and just like what she's given to the game, and like that first goal that she scored and the relief after, I don't know how long she was out or hadn't scored for it, but it's
a long time,
about 14 months maybe or something like that. So you love seeing stories like that, because we have been deprived of such good and big players in this tournament because of injuries. Another bad news coming out of the Netherlands today. We see
Lieke Martens.
So
I saw that and I was like, this tournament is fully cursed. Like, I don't ever remember watching a tournament where so many big names.
Yeah.
Like people get injuries and they might miss the group stages or they'll miss the semis until the semis, but they generally come back. But to have, what's it now, like 4 or 5 of
gone for the full tournament,
gone for the full tournament, and also a lot of them gone for possibly a lot of next season, possibly the World Cup. It's just it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, we're lucky there has been some. There's still a lot of quality for us to look forward to, but I think Germany will. I think that this could be one of the easiest quarters that we see. I think that I possibly see almost like three goals in the difference in this one. Not sure how do you feel?
So. Although they played Finland, I was at that game and they won 3-0, and it took them like a bit like England. Once they actually got their opening, they looked far more impressive, but it took them quite a while to get it. So I think if Austria can hold them off for as long as possible, add a nil. I think
they're probably going to be a different beast when it comes to knockout. They were already through and they played Finland, aren't they? So
yeah, they were. That is true.
I'm not sure we'll see that. But look, we'll live in hope. As the neutral, we live in hope.
Yeah, but also even Voss-Tecklenburg said after that game, she was talking about it and she said, I think we've settled a lot of the doubts that there were about this team, but also we could have scored more and we should have done more. So I don't know as well, are they going to go into this game and be like, okay, let's really push it. Let's really show what we can do. We
saw when the questions were asked of England, they came out and scored 8 the next day. So if I was Austria, I wouldn't be saying anything about them not being able to score. I'd be saying, God, aren't their strikers amazing? Bigging them up.
And then on Friday, we have Sweden versus Belgium, who amazingly have made it this far. Don't know how they did it. That group was just bizarre in and of itself.
Bonkers.
Iceland and Italy will 100% be
be absolutely kicking themselves. I mean, Italy disappointed, we'll say, in the group stages. We did expect more out of Italy. You'd have to say that. Iceland had their chance against Belgium to put them away in that first game. I thought they were the better team. I thought Belgium did well to come back, but I thought Iceland had more. I thought they had more to offer, and I think we saw glimpses of that in their really good performance against France in the final group stage, when unfortunately it was just too late. So for them to be looking at Belgium after sneaking a 1-0 win over Italy and qualifying and playing Sweden, who've been the most underwhelming of the top seeds, the Iceland will definitely be going home with a bit of sour grapes in their mouth for that one. Not taken away from what Belgium did. I mean, they still had to beat Italy. They still did it, which was incredible.
And I watched their friendly against England just before the tournament kicked off, and I was so unimpressed. When I looked at the two squads,
decent scoreline between them, wasn't it? I think England
it was like
3-4 past them. It was.
But like, you look at the players that Italy had, the players that Iceland had even, and you're like, they should be able to see this team off easily. And they didn't. And Belgium just stuck in. It was not pretty at all, but they just rooted themselves
in. That's it. I think anyone who was watching that match yesterday were kind of just willing it to be over a little bit, because we've seen some really good quality games and that just wasn't one of them. Belgium won't give one hoot about that. They'll happily turn up on Friday and have an absolute stink affair with Sweden if it meant that they could possibly nick a draw, force it to extra time or anything like that. On the flip side, Sweden, who I had criticised definitely coming into the tournament and in the first 2 games for lack of creativity, absolutely spanked Portugal, who were everyone's kind of, I think Lisa Fallon called it her footballing crush in the tournament. Because they did give a lot to the tournament, Portugal, in terms of flair and just excitement and comebacks and all that. And then Sweden decided not today.
Yeah, I feel like I cursed them a bit because I wrote a piece about them the day before, being like, Portugal are everyone's favourites, and they could snatch something against Sweden because they did this. But yeah, and it just didn't happen on the day for them. But I think you could even see that they enjoyed the tournament experience and they enjoyed being there. Like any of the matches I went to, there was about 3 Portugal fans, but they were so loud. They were so into it. It was a bit like the Northern Ireland crowd. They actually didn't care that they were getting spanked by England. They were just there having a great time and supporting their team. And I think that was really nice to see, I suppose, for smaller nations. And I think
the Belgians will be like that as well against Sweden. I think that they'll be enjoying the occasion. Sweden do have the pressure on them, but I mean, they should well be able to deal with it. The only thing is that Portugal play an expansive style of football where they are creative. They were never going to park the bus because they're not physically strong enough to do that. I also don't think Belgium are physically strong enough to do that, but maybe are a little bit stronger and bigger of a side than Portugal. And we've seen when teams do bank up against Sweden that they definitely do struggle. So Belgium will have learned a lot. They're definitely not coming out to win. And the first half, they're not going to be coming out saying, we can get 1-2-0 up. They'll be banking up, trying to get set pieces, trying to hit on the break. So again, might not be a pretty game. Depends on which Sweden turns up. The Sweden who can tear a team apart, or the Sweden who really struggles against a team that doesn't play their own kind of style of football, that does a Republic of Ireland on it.
And then finally we have France, Netherlands, which is quite a tasty tie. Probably that and England, Spain are the 2 that I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, it's very tasty because 2 very good attacking teams, 2 teams who have defensive frailties. So it could be really, really fun. And I've probably jinxed it and that'll be a 0-all. But I think France have shown a lot more in this tournament than the Netherlands. Without Miedema, I think they've struggled to kind of get any flow, and it's mad to say that of a team that just scored 4 goals, but 3 of them were at the end. One was potentially offside, one was unlucky, kind of bounced off the Austrian defender, and one was a goalkeeping mistake. So yeah, I'd be pipping France just based on the fact that their attack does seem to be gelling a little bit better at the moment. Now, might it all change? I assume Miedema is back. Do we know?
I think so. I don't think it's fully confirmed yet.
But then again, they've lost Lika Martins again. So it's another big blow just in terms of experience. And when you get to knockout stages, you do need to call on those kind of big players to step up. We saw Van de Donk did it when they needed that goal in the group stages. So that'll be a big blow to them. France have had to deal with their own blows as well in the tournament.
I was going to ask, do you think with losing Marie-Antoinette Katoto, France got that 1-1 draw against Iceland, realistically, they probably should have scored a few more. I know they did make some changes. Yeah. Diaper swapped things up a bit and kind of brought in some younger players. So it could have just been a case of we're qualified and I want to.
No, I think she was right to change it up. Obviously it gave Iceland a bit of hope, but they'll come into this a lot fresher than the Netherlands will, having had the COVID blows and having had injury blows and things like that. It'll feel a little bit more mentally draining for Netherlands. They might physically feel okay, but has kind of been one thing after the other with them, whereas France have had, I suppose, one major injury, but other than that, they've had an okay run into it. So I'd be pipping France to get through that one.
I think we have to give a special shout out as well to Daphne van Domsler for what she's done since she came in, taking over from being in Dell. Like, one senior cap before this tournament, has had to start every match since, and has been
like, the tournament, and she's been called upon massively. That game against Switzerland, Switzerland were so good.
Yeah,
like they were so dangerous on the break, and some of those saves, point blank, her reactions, getting back up for the double save. She's shown maturity beyond her years and beyond her experience, definitely. And would I be surprised if she kept that number one spot after this? Absolutely not. I think she's one for the future. I think she's shown. I would have been a little bit nervous possibly of their number one before, but I feel like she hasn't put a foot wrong. Van Damsel.
Well, I feel like Zari had always had that. She, with being the captain and the legend around her, there was that certainty, but she's definitely lost it a little bit.
Very hard to drop a player who has that. Yeah. So you don't want to say it's a blessing, but there's certainly, that's not the biggest blow they've had to take in this tournament by far, considering what Van Damsler has done. Like, I think everyone's kind of talking about her. It's brilliant to see, and fair play to her. And I think that we'll see her getting big moves in the future. Definitely. I think German and WSL clubs will definitely come knocking. Imagine investing in a player who's only that age now, and a keeper. You could potentially have her for 10, 12 years. It's frightening to think the level she could go to. So she could be busy again against France, but again, do we ever know what France are going to do?
Never.
Yeah.
It's the theme of the podcast. Never do we know. And on that, we will leave it for today, but we will be back on Friday morning to check in as we reach the halfway point of the quarters. The COYGIG Pod and OTB Sports is in association with Cadbury FC, official snack partner to the Republic of Ireland women's national team. We'll see you all later in the week.
The COYGIG Pod and OTB Sports in association with Cadbury. A player and a half deserves a glass and a half of support.